We will now have the presentation of judges. So the Board of Judges for today's International Research Colloquium are: first, we have the Deputy Ombudsman for the Military and Other Law Enforcement Offices of the Republic of the Philippines and Honorary Fellow of Royal Institution Singapore. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Honorable Dr. Fellow Attorney CPA Dr. Cyril E. Ramos.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, sir. We also have Dr. Fellow Professor CPA Dr. Gloria T. Baisa, member of the Board of Accountancy of the Professional Regulation Commission of the Philippines and Honorary Fellow of Royal Institution Singapore. Welcome, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone.
We have the Dean of the College of Business Administration of the Polytechnic of the Philippines, Polytechnic University of the Philippines. Please welcome Dr. Fellow Dr. Raquel G. Ramos.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ma'am Raquel.
Good afternoon,
Next,
ma'am.
we have Dr. Fellow Dr. Emeline Q. Libunao. She is a former director of the Program Management Division of the Philippine Information Agency and special lecturer at the Polytechnic University of the Philippines and International Visiting Professorial Fellow. Welcome, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And we have Dr. Fellow Dr. Adela Hamurabo Ruiz, Media Past President of Nutritionist Dietitians Association of the Philippines and International Visiting Professorial Fellow of Royal Institution Singapore.
Hello.
Welcome, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So today we have 7 scholarly written research papers will be presented. Oral presenters are given 10 minutes each to present their paper. If the presentation exceeds 10 minutes, we will interrupt the presentation and proceed to the next presenter. So we have your PowerPoint presentation with us, so we will be the one who will share the screen with your PowerPoint in it. Kindly give us a signal if you would want to go to the next slide. Alternatively, you may also control your PowerPoint by sharing your screen. So our first presenter is the Public Schools District Supervisor of Quezon 1 District Division of Bukidnon in the Department of Education. Please welcome Dr. Rolando D. Acoriba Jr. together with his co-presenter or co-author Dr. Irene C. Colaste Kimbo, Master Teacher 1 at the Department of Education Bukidnon, for their research improving pupils' academic performance in mathematics using manipulatives.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Royal Institute of Singapore International Research Colloquium. I'm Dr. Rolando Acoriba, the PSDS of DepEd Philippines, and my co-researcher, Dr. Irene Kimbo, Master Teacher 1 of DepEd Philippines. The title of our research, Improving Pupils' Academic Performance in Mathematics Using Manipulatives. Mathematics skills are crucial to functioning in today's world, according to Byrne and Ham. These skills are not just important in school mathematical classes, but also in our daily lives. There is no doubt that everyone believes that mathematics is important. However, many students have poor math skills, which indicates that changes are needed in the methodology of teaching mathematics, according to Gulabshani 2013. Next slides, please. The grade 4 diagnostic test result in mathematics of Kibakanya Elementary School for academic year 2017-2018 revealed that the learner's proficiency level in mathematics did not meet expectation, with a mean value of 74.34. When examined closely, it was found out that the fourth quarter has the lowest mean, which was 74.02, or 58.06% of the learners was in the level of did not meet expectation. Moreover, it was observed during mathematics period that the learners lack focus and keep on going out from the classroom. They easily give up whenever they encounter difficulties in answering the activities given to them and said it is very hard without even trying. They had negative attitude towards the subject. This gave light to the researchers to conduct an action research addressing the mathematics proficiency level of the pupils, particularly in measurement, statistics, and probability, the domains of the mathematics for the fourth quarter. Above all, the purpose of the study was to see if the greater use of manipulatives in teaching measurement, statistics, and probability could improve the skills of the learners and develop a positive attitude towards the subject. Next slides, please. As what Sutton and Krieger and Jones had stressed, manipulatives do not only allow learners to construct their own cognitive models for abstract mathematical ideas and processes. They also provide a common language with which to communicate these models to the teachers and other learners. In addition to the ability of manipulatives to aid directly in the cognitive process, manipulatives have the additional advantage of engaging students in increasing both interest and enjoyment of mathematics. In a pre-experimental research design was employed in the study. Complete enumeration was used as well as determining the participants who were the grade 4 learners of Kibakanya Elementary School for academic year 2017-2018. This study was implemented in the fourth quarter of the said academic year. To determine the learner's academic performance in mathematics, particularly on measurement, statistics, and probability, the pre-test and post-test mathematics proficiency test was used, which was adapted from the K-12 curriculum, grade 4 teacher's guide in the fourth quarter. To determine the learner's attitude towards mathematics, the attitudinal questionnaire adapted from McCartney 2009 was utilized. However, some revisions were made to the items to fit to the level of the participants as well as to the setting of the study. The interview protocol was adapted from Goraki 2009. The observation notes during the implementation stage were also used to support the findings of the study. T-test paired was employed to examine if there is a significant increase in the learner's academic performance in mathematics as well as in their attitude towards the subject. Team analysis was used to find out how greater manipulative use improves the learner academic performance and attitude towards mathematics. Next slides, please. Research question number 1. Is there a significant difference in the pupil's academic performance in mathematics before and after exposure to greater manipulative use? Hypothesis: there is no significant difference in pupils' academic performance in mathematics before and after exposure to greater manipulative use. T-test paired was used to analyze the data. Next slide, please. Finding number 1 for research question 1. There is a significant increase in the pupil's academic performance in mathematics after using manipulatives. So recommendation for findings 1, their teacher may consider integrating the use of manipulatives in teaching and might be done in a longer period of time to ensure effectiveness. The manipulatives can provide valuable support for student learning when teachers interact over time with students to help them build links between the object, the symbols, and the mathematical idea both they represent. Next slide, please. Research question number 2. Is there a significant difference in pupil attitude towards mathematics mathematics before and after exposure. Significant difference in the pupil's attitude towards mathematics before and after exposure to greater manipulative use. Again, t-test pairs was used to analyze the data. Next slide, please. Findings number 2. There is a significant increase in the pupil's attitude towards the subject mathematics after using manipulatives. Recommendation: it will be helpful to let the pupils have their own journal to gain more insight into how and why pupils use or did not use manipulatives the way that they do. Doing so may provide more depth as to what the pupils are thinking or feelings about the use of materials. Also, pupils may write their reflection on their journal, since manipulative use by the teachers have potential when used in such a way that they promote reflection on the part of the pupils. Next slide, please. Research question number 3. How can greater manipulative use improve my pupils' mathematical proficiency level? This is hypothesis-free. And theme analysis was used to analyze the data. Next slide, please. Finding number 3. Greater manipulative use improves the pupil's academic performance in mathematics, particularly on measurement, statistics, and probability skills in a way that it gives fun and enjoyment to the pupils while doing every activity given to them. It develops their confidence in sharing their answers in front of their classmates because they knew the answer. And it develops their social skill as they work with their group mates. In other words, it made the teaching and learning process become more student-centered, thereby changes the pupil's attitude to be more positive toward mathematics and make them more successful. Recommendation: if budget warrants, the Department of Education might consider the possibility of providing teachers with durable manipulatives so it will last long. Or they may provide sturdy materials that the teacher may use in making the manipulatives so that the time, money, effort exerted will not be wasted. Another recommendation, the department might also consider the possibility of conducting training and seminars, not only on what is manipulative and how to make it, but most importantly, how to apply it appropriately, especially in the teaching learning process, for it greatly affects its effectivity. Next slide. Thank you very much for listening. God bless to everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akuriba, for that presentation. Our next presenter is the Training Specialist 3 at the Philippine Judicial Academy of the Supreme Court of the Philippines. Please welcome Ms. Rochelle Pablo Dizon for her research, Shaping a Globally Relevant and Responsive Judicial Education Programs in the Philippines Towards an Effective Training Institution.
Hello to screen share, please.
Yes po.
Thank you.
You can share na po.
Bear with me po. Fellow members, distinguished guests, President and officers of the Royal Institution, Singapore, friends, good afternoon. Today, I am very grateful to share with you my paper entitled Shaping a Globally Relevant and Responsive Judicial Education Program in the Philippines Towards an Effective Training Institution. Let me start with my presentation. According to the former Chief Justice Hilario G. Davide Jr., the Philippine judiciary has its own share of judicial reform as its humble contribution to the continuing global effort in strengthening democracy and the rule of law, realizing and promoting justice, and in contributing to human capital and national development and stability. The judiciary is responsible in addressing very delicate issues concerning human rights, property and possessions, access to public services, and access to justice. It is concerned with the right of the people to speedy trial and disposition of their cases. In order to deliver this efficiently and effectively, it must have adequate physical, fiscal, and human resources. The quality of human resources is evaluated in terms of qualification, experience, and integrity. Given these requirements, the connection between judicial training and the efficiency of a judiciary is well recognized. The objective of judicial education is to advance judicial competency and to build public trust and confidence in the judiciary. Judicial training is vital to guarantee high standards of competence and performance. The challenge that we face in the future is what the judges should learn. Is it substantive and skills training? And what form of presentation should they be? The objective of this study is to assess the challenges in shaping a globally relevant and responsive judicial education programs in the Philippines, particularly the Philippine Judicial Academy or PhilJA as the education arm of the Supreme Court of the Philippines. According to Treblecock and Daniels, a common wisdom holds that judicial education builds a strong and independent judiciary that will in turn support the rule of law and economic development. Judicial education is also the foundation of judicial reform. As shown on the screen, this study then contributes to the establishment of a more efficient and improved administration of justice, judicial reforms, and enhanced public confidence in the judicial branch. This study use mixed method of research, the quantitative and qualitative methods. The collection method utilized in gathering data are interviews, articles from books and journals, desktop research, and a survey questionnaire that was administered to the judges of the regional trial courts nationwide during the National Convention of the Philippine Judges Association from October 2 to 4, 2019 at the Rizal Park Hotel in Manila. As of July 2019, the field position in the RTC is 784 judges. In this study, I used purposive sampling. I chose to examine the entire population that has one or more shared characteristics, and this is a cross-sectional survey. I distributed survey instrument during the annual convention attended by 590 participants. The RTC judges who attended the convention are automatically considered as respondents. After collecting the questionnaires, responses were tallied, computed, analyzed, and recorded. To know the demographic profile of the judge respondents, part 1 of the instrument dealt with items that were about age, gender, court type, judicial region, and the length of service in the judiciary as a judge. The second part consisted of multiple questions based on how strongly the respondents feel as regards the factors in assessing the judicial education in the Philippines in terms of global relevance, responsiveness, effectiveness, and training competence. A Likert scale was used to interpret the response of the respondents. Finally, the third part dealt with the issues and challenges of judges that PhilJA has to address in order to provide a globally relevant and responsive judicial education program in the Philippines towards an effective training institution. These are questions with multiple responses. The research instrument undergone validity, pilot test, and reliability test. The pilot test was done to RTC judges of Makati, Manila, and Quezon City. Out of 124 judges, 74 participated in the survey. Before I proceeded with the survey, I asked permission from my Chief of Office, the late Justice Delilah Vidalion Magtolis, and she endorsed the same to the President of the Philippine Judges Association, Judge Felix Reyes. I got the approval and the survey was administered to the judges from October 2 to 4, 2019. Out of the 500 survey questionnaires, 376 or 75.2% were returned. These exclude the judges from RTC Makati, Manila, and Quezon City who participated in the pilot testing of the survey. Aside from the survey, 4 judges volunteered to be interviewed. In the statistical treatment of data, frequency, percentage, and mean or average were employed in this study. The results. The first part covered the demographic profiles and other information of judge respondents. In the findings, it appeared how old they were during the conduct of the study. Based on the frequency and percentage distribution, majority of the judges are middle age, between 46 to 50 years old, that aggregates 24.5%. Also, majority of the respondents are male with 55.3%, while 44.7% are female. With regard to the court type, it appeared that 74.2% of the respondents are from regular courts, meaning they are handling all types of court cases or with general jurisdiction. With regard to judicial region, 33% of the respondents are from the National Capital Region. The findings appeared that 32.4% served in the judiciary as a judge from 6 years to 10 years. In Table 1, the respondents' perception as regards the Academy's judicial education programs in terms of global relevance, generally, the judges agreed on all the statements presented. Also, PhilJA should provide opportunities to exchange information on cross-border issues. However, as international boundaries are crossed in terms of how citizens relate to one another, more judicial programs should be developed and crafted to address the other topics. The findings also show that there is a need to study foreign case law in the absence of applicable Philippine jurisprudence. This may not be relevant as to domestic political disputes like local labor cases, local contracts, procedural laws, and criminal cases in the Philippines, but by learning more about foreign laws, judges may discover the reasons why and help them to discover what does work in the Philippines. In Table 2, the respondents agreed that PhilJA is responsive to their specific needs as a judge. It provides them knowledge of the latest laws and jurisprudence. They agreed that the training programs of the Academy have enabled the judges to fill in any knowledge gap that they had. In Table 3, majority of the judges agreed that the result of going through the training of PhilJA enabled them to improve the way they do their job. They came across a lot of new ideas which they found useful in their work. It is effective considering the continuous reformation and amendment of our existing rules of procedures and laws for a more effective administration of justice, suitable and applicable in our The findings revealed the judges wanted more interactive sessions which require high degree of their participation and involvement during the training program. In an interview with one of the judges on October 16, 2019 at Sheraton Manila Bay, she agreed that the Academy's training programs are very effective in helping judges in their job. Although she observed that the Academy's training programs are very generic and it caters to everyone, she suggested that a more customized and tailor-fit program should be crafted for judges. She also opined that most of the judges outside NCR lack specialized training. Regular courts and courts of general jurisdiction should be given priority in trainings. In Table 4, the findings showed that the resource persons and lecturers of the Academy are excellent in conveying their lecture to the participants. They can communicate effectively with the participants and the skills and knowledge imparted are adequate. In Table 5, the findings reveal how PhilJA is as a designer. Judges agreed that the Academy training program prepared them to discharge their duties for the best interest of the court users. In Table 6, the findings of the study revealed that the most favored and effective training method for judges is the straightforward lecture. Interactive methods such as discussion, workshop, and case studies and open forum are also most favored. It showed that skills training must be the emphasis of PhilJA's enhanced programs. This highlights both the need to structure training programs in a way that facilitates sharing, discussion, and mentoring. My recommendations. For the short term, the topics of the training program should be framed in such a way that the lecturer would be able to address the needs of the judges in terms of the nature of the cases being handled by them. PhilJA should immediately meet the demands of the judges. A more focused program that is custom-built for specialized courts should be drafted. Moreover, single sala courts and courts with general jurisdiction should be trained on special focus program because they handle a variety of court cases. In terms of timeline and to address the recurring complaint that judges are often away to attend seminars, the development of distant and e-learning modules that are accessible using reliable internet connection is urgent. This will also address the recurring issues that NCJR judges are given more training and the judges from the provinces are often disregarded. If this can be developed, the judges will no longer leave their court station at their own convenient time, and as long as it is within the compliant period fixed by PhilJA, they may attend seminars and workshops by going to a PhilJA microsite where the pertinent training module can be accessed. The creation of system of communication among judges is often suggested during the conduct of the interview. This highlights the need to craft training programs in a way that facilitates discussion, sharing, mentoring, and more importantly, judges' participation will be maximized in the planning and development of training programs. The PhilJA can adopt an impact study or an assessment of participants' performance in training and the effect of the training activities. Follow-up studies on assessing the impact of learning outcomes on trainings and multiple factors that influence the lecturer's use of participants' learning outcomes in implementing the curriculum are also recommended to be undertaken. If sufficient technology is available, a video conferencing can be utilized to avoid unnecessary travel costs for interested participants whose station is long way from the training venue. Programs and topics that are globally relevant must be offered. In recent times, there was a big push for ASEAN integration, one feature of which was that the ASEAN member countries will have common legal, economic, and other platforms to transact with one another. PhilJA may consider the creation and development of formal career path for those who are to be entrusted with the job of imparting instructions to the judges and court personnel. At least once a year, PhilJA should arrange seminars and workshops for training of trainers, absolutely necessary for judicial development. For the long term, in the next 5 years, considering how judicial education is evolving, there should be another study to be conducted. More areas can be a subject of future research. This includes the justices, first-level court judges, court personnel, quasi-judicial bodies, court users, lawyers, and the civil society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rachel Pablo Dizon, for that presentation. Our next presenter is an Instructor 1 at the College of Teacher Education at Zamboanga City State Polytechnic College. He is also the teacher in charge, school head of Dato Panguluhan Elementary School, Labuan District, Zamboanga City, and district sports coordinator at Labuan District, Zamboanga City. Please welcome Dr. Roberto S. Ayul II for his research, Clinical Supervision, Key to Quality Instruction in the Division of Zamboanga City.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. To the Board of Judges and to the dignitaries of the Royal Institution Singapore, blessed afternoon. Allow me to present this research paper. The title is Clinical Supervision, Key to Quality Instruction in the Division of Zamboanga City. Next slide, please. The introduction. Schools in Zamboanga City are mostly headed by school principals, and each one of them has her distinct instructional supervisory roles designed to achieve educational goals and objectives. However, the execution of their instructional supervisory roles differs depending on the needs of the teachers and pupils and the kind of the environment that they are working on. Some schools or school principals exercise their instructional supervisory roles very evidently, while others are not clearly demonstrated. Therefore, it could vary their impact on the delivery of a quality instruction. Teachers in different their tasks depend on the kind of climate and lead they have. Some of the school principals and the clinical supervision are part of their function to teachers in the delivery of quality instruction. However, some of the teachers, find it as an additional task. And in the field of clinical supervision, they don't find it as an aid on the part of they have the misconception with regards to the role of the school principals in schools and in the delivery of instruction. Next slide, please. Clinical supervision is the routinary function of supervisors and principals to improve teaching, learning processes, and eventually benefits the pupils. This study is hinged on the clinical supervision performed by the school principals, and it intended to strengthen the theory on clinical supervision and its impact on the quality of instructions or instruction as delivered by the teachers. Next, please. For the methodology, this study employed the descriptive research design using the quantitative and qualitative methods of research. The quantitative approach was used in determining the extent of implementation of the 8 phases of cycle of clinical supervision and significant difference when categorized into profile of the respondents. The qualitative approach was employed to identify the problems met by the teachers in the implementation of the clinical supervision by the school principal, and this was done through a focus group discussion or the FGD. It involved 266 randomly selected teachers, and the frequency percentage weighted mean, one-way ANOVA, and one-way analysis of variance or the ANOVA, and t-test for independent samples were utilized in the analysis of the data. Next, please. For the results and discussion, number one, most of the teachers were between the ages of 31 to 45, females, Zamboangueño, with master's unit with permanent teacher one plantilla and have 1 to 5 years of teaching experience or 15 years teaching experience. Number two, teachers describe their school principal's clinical supervision in terms of analyzing of teaching learning process very much extensive. In terms of other 6 dimensions, they describe as extensive. And number three, teachers agree that they had problems or they met problems in terms of principal's clinical supervision after the conference. Next, please. Number four, a significant difference in the teacher's assessment of the implementation of clinical supervision in terms of observing instruction when categorized according to age. And next is no significant difference on their assessment of school principals' clinical supervision when categorized according to gender, ethnicity, educational attainment, and length of service. Next, please. Significant difference exists in assessment of teachers in the school principal clinical supervision in terms of analyzing the teaching learning process and renewed planning when categorized according to academic rank. But there is no significant difference existed in the assessment of teachers in the school principal clinical supervision in terms of 5 dimensions when categorized according to profile. And thus, no significant difference in the problems met by the teachers in the implementation of the school principal's clinical supervision when grouped according to profile. Next, please. The conclusion, number one, majority of the teachers were relatively between 31 to 35, 41 to 45 years of age, female, Zamboangueño, with master's unit, with permanent teacher one plantilla, and have 1 to 15 years of teaching experience. And number two, the school principals were extensive in implementing their clinical supervision. Number three, teachers have confronted with problems on clinical supervision of their school principals. Next. And number four, conclusion, the teacher, regardless of gender, ethnicity, educational attainment, and length of service, share similar assessment on the school principal clinical supervision. And number five, conclusion, teachers, regardless of age, gender, ethnicity, educational attainment, and academic rank, have similar problems met in the implementation of the school principal's clinical supervision. Next, please. For the recommendations, number one, the teachers may continue with their graduate studies. Number two, teachers should take clinical supervision as a tool in improving the delivery of instruction. And number three, principals should upgrade their skills and maintain the extensive implementation of clinical supervision. Next, please. Number four, recommendation. School principals and teachers should hold meeting and brainstorm on the possible interventions to address the problems met by the teachers with regard to the implementation of school principals' clinical supervision. And number five, schools division superintendent should institutionalize the implementation of the clinical supervision and share its importance to school principals as part of their instructional leadership roles. Next, please. Thank you very much and stay safe, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Roberto Iyo, for that presentation. Next, we have an Instructor 1 at the Integrated Laboratory School at the College of Teacher Education at Western Mindanao State University. Please welcome Ms. Lilibeth S. Iyo for her research, School Principals, Instructional Leadership, and Teachers' Performance in Santa Maria District.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ms. Lilibeth Iyo, an instructor of Western Mindanao State University here in Zamboanga City. The title of my research is School Principals, Instructional Leadership, and Teachers' Performance in Santa Maria District. Next, please. Okay, schools are educational institutions that play a prominent role in the intellectual and personal growth of students. Furthermore, it is the most important institution in the socialization of children because it can cause an impact on children's development. Hence, principals' leadership is often viewed as a major focus on effort to pursue and achieve excellence in education. In other words, excellence of success of a school is influenced by effective principal leadership. So Oben and Hodges in 1997 claim that the school can make a difference on the level of teachers' teaching performance. However, good or poor performance of teachers depends on the person who leads the school. Next, please. School in Santa Maria District, Division of Zamboanga City, are headed by school principals, and each one of them has his or her distinct instructional leadership roles, designed to achieve educational goals and objectives. However, the execution of their instructional leadership roles differs depending on the needs of the teachers and pupils and the kind of environment. Some school principals exercise their instructional leadership roles very evidently, while others are not clearly demonstrated. Therefore, it could vary their impact on teachers' teaching performance. Teachers in their different stations perform their tasks depending on the kind of climate and leaders they have. Next, please. This study was conducted to determine the correlation between school principals, instructional leadership, and teaching performance of the public elementary school teachers of Santa Maria District in Zamboanga City. This research should, next please. This research should to answer the following problems. Number one, to what extent does school principals' instructional leadership manifested in terms of setting school-wide goals, providing resources needed for learning, supervising and evaluating teachers, coordinating staff development, and creating collegial relationship. Number two, what is the level of performance of teachers in Santa Maria District in terms of organizations of lessons, questioning techniques, communications, and routine classroom activities? Number three, is there a significant relationship between school principals' instructional leadership and teachers' performance in Santa Maria District? And number four, is there a significant difference in the instructional leadership of school principal when respondents are categorized into length of service and educational attainment? Next, please. So this study employed the descriptive, quantitative, and qualitative research design using correlational method with a survey questionnaire. And a focus group discussion was utilized to verify the consistency of the responses of the respondents in teachers' teaching performance in the survey questionnaire. So the respondents were 184 randomly selected teachers from 8 public elementary schools in Santa Maria District determined using the Slovin's formula. Next, please. And for research instrument, a 5-point Likert type questionnaire, checklist, and a focus group guide question were used in the gathering of data. To answer question or problem number 1 and 2, weighted mean was used. Person product moment correlation coefficient for question or problem number 3, and one-way analysis of variance for problem number 4 were employed in the analysis of data. Next, please. So the results are the following. The instructional leadership of the school principals in 5 indicators was rated high. Number 2, the performance of teachers in terms of 4 indicators was very good. There was a significant relationship between instructional leadership of school principals and the teachers' teaching performance. Next, please. Number 4, there was a significant difference in the instructional leadership of school principals in terms of setting school-wide goals, providing resources needed for learning, supervising and evaluating teachers, and creating collegial relationship when respondents are categorized according to length of service. However, there was no significant difference in the instructional leadership of the school principal in terms of coordinating staff development when categorized according to length of service. Next. There was a significant difference in the school instructional leadership of the school principal in terms of creating collegial relationship when teachers are categorized according to educational attainment. There was no significant difference in the instructional leadership of the school principal in terms of providing resources needed for learning, supervising and evaluating teachers, and coordinating staff development. However, a meaningful difference existed in the instructional leadership of the school principal in terms of setting school-wide goals when teachers are categorized according to educational attainment. Next, please. Okay, on the basis of finding, there is our following conclusions. The school principals highly demonstrated their instructional leadership across all dimensions was rated high. The teachers demonstrated a very good teaching performance in all indicators. A very good performance and teacher statement also during the focus group discussion was shown. A very good performance of teacher is dependent on the instructional leadership of the school principal across all dimensions. Teachers, regardless of length of service, manifest similar assessment on school principal's instructional leadership. The teachers with BS degree have higher assessment on the instructional leadership of the school principal in terms of creating collegial relationship. The teachers, regardless of educational attainment, have similar assessment on the school principal's instructional leadership in 4 dimensions. Next, please. For the recommendation, the school principal should aim for excellence in the exercise of instructional leadership across all indicators so that teachers would continuously have a very good teaching performance. The teacher should strive hard to achieve excellence in their teaching performance, and school principal should manifest the exercise of their instructional leadership in terms of setting school-wide goals, providing resources needed for learning, and creating collegial relationship for all their teachers. Before I end this, let me quote from Ann Duncan of the U.S. Secretary of Education that there is no good school without good principal. And if you have good principal, great teachers would come, they stay, and they will work hard and they grow. That would be all. Thank you very, very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Ms. Iyo, for that presentation. Next, we have Ms. Marifetti Madrista Napalyaton. She is Instructor 1 at Jose Rizal Memorial State University Tampilisan Campus. Please welcome for her research, oral abilities, and second language performance among JRMSU TC BSEd English major students.
Thank you, Ma'am Love.
Welcome po.
Let me share screen. Can you see my slides now, ma'am?
Yes po.
Okay. To the Board of Judges, RI dignitaries, presenters, participants, a pleasant afternoon to all. The title of my research is Oral Abilities and Second Language Performance among BSEd English major students of Jose Rizal Memorial State University, Tampilisan Campus. Language literally lives by the power of ideas, which is considered as a fundamental feature in developing oral and oral abilities. Communication basically needs to be developed among the students, which is significant to learning. Oral communication relates to hearing practically done by listening, while oral is acted through speaking. Language learning involves different mental processes. These processes play distinctly as one acquires the language naturally. As observed, many people find it difficult to comprehend on speeches or items due to errors in pronunciations, stressing, syllabication, repetition, hearing, understanding, judging, grammar, and vocabulary. Notably, in an English class, the emphasis lies on listening comprehension and second language competency. In this sense, proper pronunciation, stressing, syllabication, and repetition must be co-identified with the development of confidence among the learners, taking into consideration the capability and capacity of acquiring the second language competency. English classes are not enough to boost students' confidence in their listening and speaking skills. The objectives of this study are to find Jose Rizal Memorial State University Tampilisan Campus. Sit for a while. BSEd English major students as to oral abilities like hearing ability, phonemic awareness, and listening comprehension. And for oral abilities, it includes pronunciation, voice modulation, and sentence construction. And also, it sought to find the level of second language performance. And the last one is to find the significant influence perceived oral abilities to their second language performance. This study utilized the descriptive survey method using 2 sets of questionnaire checklist designed to measure the level of perception as to oral and oral abilities in second language of the students. The first set is for the students' perception on oral ability in terms of hearing ability, phonemic awareness, listening comprehension, and another set for the oral ability in terms of pronunciation, voice modulation, and sentence construction. This questionnaire checklist was extracted from research.proquest.com as modified by the researchers. The students' grades were extracted from the registrar's office with the approval by the students themselves. The statistical treatment used were weighted mean and regression analysis to determine the level of oral and oral abilities in terms of hearing ability, phonemic awareness, listening comprehension, pronunciation, voice modulation, and sentence construction. And find the level of second language performance and regression analysis to determine the influence of the perception on oral abilities in second language performance. The results and discussions for the first question, the level of hearing ability, hearing ability of BS Ed English major students of GEM-SUTC, the respondents can easily follow simple directions as well as easily attend to someone calling their names. In general, they are moderately intensive as to their hearing ability. It concluded that listening competence is a complex skill that needs to be developed consciously, which can be developed with practice when students reflect on the process of listening without the threat of evaluation. The respondents also are very capable of manipulating and hearing phonemes, which allow them to identify words that have the same vowel or consonant sound, identify the first sound in one syllable, word, and the ending sound of a word. When it comes to students' perception on listening comprehension, they are able to understand the meaning of the word they hear, which enable them to listen to the meaning of a song and state the basic cognitive contents. The respondents are very intensive in terms of phonemic awareness and listening comprehension, which allow them to be competent enough in manipulating and learning phonemes. When it comes to students' perception on pronunciation ability, they are moderately intensive in pronunciation, but need to be enhanced in producing with voiced and voiceless letter, words with suffixes, schwa sounds, and E versus E, O versus U, L, R, and H vowels and consonant sounds. When it comes to students' perception on voice modulation, respondents perceived to be highly intensive as to voice modulation, though felt the need of vocal control when speaking. So this is in relation to the study of Rochoy 2012, because his study reveals that listening and speaking skills are complex skills that need to be developed consciously. They can best be developed with practice in classroom through activities which promote interaction between students. To students' perception on sentence construction, the respondents perceive themselves to be very intensive in sentence construction, although they need to enhance their skill in sentence construction in some related aspects. When it comes to second language performance of BS Ed English major students, based on their computed grades in their English 11, they have a weighted mean of 88.36 or classified as good, and this signifies that their level as a second language performance is moderate. This means that they need to enhance their second language performance to become articulate enough. Regression analysis between the influence of the students' perception on oral ability and second language performance of the students, the result reflects that the R value of 0.413, which denotes moderate correlation, the R2 value of 0.4 0.171 or 17.1% level of influence simply means that oral ability influenced the second language performance of the BS Ed English major students by 17.1%, and the remaining 82.9% is influenced by other factors that covered by the study. The result further reflects a t-value of negative 1.389, having p-value of 0.168, which is higher than alpha 0.05, which denotes the significant result. The f-value of 7.150 means that voice modulation is a predictor in second language performance of the students, wherein voice modulation would not predict second language performance. Therefore, voice modulation of the BS Ed English major students of GERM-SUTC does not significantly influence their second language performance. The f of 7.150 with 0.000 p-value indicates a very significant result, which means that oral ability is a good predictor to their second language performance. It further revealed a t-value in pronunciation of negative 0.919 with p-value of 3.60 is higher than alpha 0.05 level of significance or not significant. In terms of voice modulation, a t-value is negative 1.389 with 0.168 p-value, which is higher than alpha 0.05 level of significance, indicates a not significant result. In terms of sentence construction, the t-value is negative 1.866 with p-value of 0.065, which is higher than alpha 0.05 level of significance, which reflects a not significant result. This implies that predictors only assumed when they are taken together, when taken individually, no significant influence is seen as reflected in the t and p values at alpha 0.05 level of significance. So based on the result, the findings are: perception of the BS Ed English major students of GERM-SUTC in oral abilities are both described as very intensive, which they believe to be competent in manipulating and hearing phonemes, as well as correct use of grammar and delivery of sound. Second, their second language performance is described as good, which means that they perform moderately well in the second language. The third one, their perception in oral abilities does not influence their second language performance. And for the conclusion, there is no significant influence in the oral abilities to their second language performance as perceived by the BS Ed English major students of GERM-SUTC. There are other factors that influence their second language performance which are not covered by the study. There is a need to improve their language performance and help them broaden their skill in crafting of ideas. Similar study across different courses and this university will do to further prove this study. And these are my references. That's all. Thank you and good afternoon once again.
Thank you so much, Ms. Napaliaton, for that presentation. Now, we'll proceed to our next presenter. He is a Professor 3 and the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences at the University of Perpetual Help System, Laguna. Please welcome Dr. Antonio R. Yango for his research, together with Dr. Susana C. Bautista, Concept of the Teaching Profession, Academic Performance and Pedagogical Competence of the Pre-Service Teachers at a Philippine Private University.
Yes, please allow me to share my screen. Okay. So I'm Dr. Antonio de Rosario Yango from the University of Perpetual Help System, Laguna, and I'm here to present to you my paper about the concept of the teaching profession, the academic performance, and the pedagogical competence of the pre-service teachers as a Philippine university, a private university. As the world becomes flat with goods and services, and the people move from one country to another, educators must teach global tolerance with an understanding that the new workforce may work for a foreign country in different parts of the world. The Filipino people have profound concern for education, for it occupies a vital share in political, economic, social, and cultural life in the Philippines. The government allocates an ideal annual budget for Philippine education to guarantee that every Filipino has the right to quality education. However, the government efforts will not be realistic without the teachers who serve as the key motivators in educating the citizenry. However, teacher education institutions in the Philippines have a major responsibility of preparing future teachers to be equipped with in-depth knowledge and instructive capability and infused with principles, desires, and ethnicities of Philippine life and culture. Remarkably, in the study made by Uyar et al. In 2018, they were able to explain the pre-service teachers' academic achievements as related to several factors and concluded that when pre-service teachers have high level of critical thinking, learning approach, and self-regulation skills, they have higher level of academic achievement. On the other hand, other pre-service teachers may also have negative connotations of the teaching profession. The study of Palini in 2016 had contrasting findings about the teaching profession. Though teaching can be seen as a noble and important profession that should be considered, pre-service teachers also view teaching as a profession to avoid due to its bad representation by the media, the interpretation that it is a profession which is undervalued, which can be seen on how teachers are looked down, overworked, yet underpaid, and an inference that teaching is a profession of heavy workload. As regards the focus of this investigation, the study aimed at determining, number one, the pre-service teachers' concept of the teaching profession, the academic performance, and pedagogical competence as assessed by their cooperating teachers. It also determined the relationship between the pre-service teachers' concept of teaching profession and academic performance, their concept of teaching profession versus the pedagogical competence and their academic performance in relation to their pedagogical competence. As for the methods or research methods, descriptive correlation research design was used in the study. The data used in the investigation came from 53 Bachelor of Elementary Education and Bachelor of Secondary Education pre-service teachers who were enrolled in their student teaching course during the second semester of academic year 2018-2019. Out of the 53 respondents, Slovin's formula was employed, arriving at 47 sample respondents who were randomly given the research instrument, of which only 43 respondents were able to accomplish and return the completed survey questionnaires, representing 91.49% retrieval rate. As for the part of the protocol, notably, the research personally wrote a letter addressed to the Dean of the College of Education of the University of Perpetual Health System, Laguna, for her approval for the conduct of the study, and other ethical considerations were followed. For the results of the study, it was remarkably noted for the respondents' concept of the teaching profession. The pre-service teachers had very positive concept of the teaching profession, as evidenced by the obtained overall weighted mean of 3.90. The results imply that the pre-service teachers believe that teaching is an honorable and stately profession. It is a career worthy of respect and value, a way of cascading knowledge, a career that leads students, a way of developing the society, a vital part of life, a challenging career, a noble profession, and the source of happiness. As for the academic performance of the pre-service teachers, it can be gleaned from the results of the study that majority of the pre-service teachers have satisfactory academic performance along general education, professional education, and major courses, which gives a clear and comprehensive impression that it is in professional education that they earned the highest mean grade. It confirms that pre-service teachers possess the variety of knowledge and skills needed in the teaching profession. As for the pre-service pedagogical competence, the overall weighted mean of 3.59 revealed that the pre-service teachers were very competent along the 7 domains of the National Competency-Based Teacher Standards of the Commission on Higher Education, considering the assessment done by their cooperating teachers during their practice teaching. The finding illustrates that there is really a need to religiously follow the required national standards so as to make teaching not only a career to treasure, but a profession worthy of recognition and value. In terms of the relationship between the respondents' concept of the teaching profession and their academic performance, the obtained overall probability value of 0.130 for general education, professional education, and major courses was greater than the level of significance at 0.05, which revealed that there was no statistically significant relationship existed. The results implies that the pre-service teacher's concept of the teaching profession has no bearing on their academic performance, maybe due to the fact that they have the innate intelligence to do the job well and imbibed the value of their future profession, which was introduced during the start of their academic journey. As to the relationship between the respondents' academic performance and pedagogical competence, as disclosed in the results, the overall weighted probability value of 0.159 for general education, professional education, and major courses was greater than the level of significance at 0.05. Therefore, there was no statistically significant relationship between the respondents'
Hello, sir. Okay, it seems that Dr. Yango has left the meeting room. We will now proceed with our next presenter. Our next presenter is a teacher 1 at Marinig South Elementary School. Please welcome Mr. Juan Mario P. Jumena with his co-author Dr. Anacleta M. Cabigao for the research Mentoring Beginning Teachers geared towards improved teaching performance.
So good afternoon to all of us, especially to the full of judges, board of judges, and learning leaders of Royal Institution. So I think everyone can hear me. So could you kindly allow me to present my slides relative to my study entitled Mentoring Beginning Teachers Geared Towards Improved Teaching Performance. Yours truly, Juan Mario P. Jumena. I'm currently teaching at Marinig South Elementary School, City Schools Division of Cabuyao, Laguna. Next slide, please. Introduction. Teachers play a crucial role in improving the quality of the teaching and learning process. They are considered as the most significant part of any educational reform. In support of these roles of teachers, the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers, or PPST, based on the Department Order number 42, series of 2017 shall be used as a basis for all learning and development programs for teachers to ensure that teachers are properly equipped to effectively implement and enhance better teaching performance. Moreover, mentoring is an important component of successful induction practices. For the mentor to be effective, he or she must be trained. A good numbers of programs and projects of the Department of Education train trainers and mentors who can provide the necessary support system for beginning teachers. Next slide, please. As a support, rigorous research encompasses that effective mentoring requires more than common sense. Research indicates that mentors and teacher-mentees who develop and manage successful mentoring partnership demonstrate a number of specific identifiable skills that enable learning and change takes place. Beginning teachers as teacher-mentees and mentors view themselves as a continuous learners and acknowledge that time allocation to facilitate professional development activities, providing support, and ongoing feedback were important components of mentoring. Given these aspects, school heads and master teachers as mentors must be cognizant of the fact that mentoring goes beyond giving encouragement, professional guidance, and support to induct beginning teachers to the school system. Hence, mentoring is characterized by mutual trust, belief, and respect. Next slide, please. For the statement of the problem, this study aimed to determine the level of mentoring skills of public school heads and master teachers in 5 districts of selected public elementary schools in the City Schools Division of Cabuyao, and it sought to answer the following. Number 1, what is the level of mentoring skills of public school heads and the master teachers as assessed by themselves and teacher-mentees in terms listening, building trust, giving feedback, and developing capabilities. Number 2, is there a significant difference in the assessment of the 3 group of respondents as regards the level of skills of the mentors? Number 3, next slide, please. What are the teaching performance of the teacher-mentees as reflected in their IPCRF or individual performance commitment and review form during the school year 2018-2019 rating period? Number 4, is there a significant relationship between the level of mentoring skills of the mentors and the teaching performance of the teacher-mentees? Number 5, what themes emerge from the testimonies of the teacher-mentees? Lastly, number 6, based on the findings of the study, what output can be prepared? Next slide. For the research design and methodology, this study is quantitative in nature, yet employing mixed methods research. Sequential explanatory design was used to answer research questions by John W. Creswell, 2014. Hence, the study was done in 2 phases. In the first phase, a survey was conducted to gather a quantitative data to evaluate the level of mentoring skills of respondents from different districts of public elementary schools in the City Schools Division of Cabuyao, comprised of 14 public school heads, 35 master teachers, and 121 teacher-mentees who used to be my main respondents and participants. So they assess themselves through listening, building trust, giving feedback, and developing capabilities. On the other hand, the second phase was executed by holding interviews of 6 beginning teachers from a selected school in the division to gather a consolidated qualitative data, and then teams were generated. The ethical guidelines as specified in the research manual of the school were followed as those ethical considerations had been definitely taken into account throughout the study. The interview was participated in voluntarily by the beginning teachers to derive data on how they validate and corroborate their experiences on mentoring services by public elementary school heads and master's teachers. Consent of the respondents were sought, explaining to them the importance, significance, and objectives of the study. The data and information that were gathered were kept confidential. The works of researchers of other authors were also properly recognized. Next slide, please. For the results and discussion, This section presents the result of the survey through a questionnaire given to the 3 groups of respondents involving beginning teachers, master teachers, and public elementary school heads. In particular, there are 4 areas of mentoring skills are being investigated, namely listening, building trust, giving feedback, and developing capabilities. To analyze the results, a mixed method of quantitative and qualitative research was utilized. For the first phase, a test of significant difference was then carried out to examine the assessment of 3 groups of respondents as regards on the level of mentoring skills of the mentors. Thus, the results show that there is no significant difference on the assessment of the 3 groups of respondents on the level of skills of the mentors. Next slide, please. Moreover, test of significant relationship was also presented between the level of mentoring skills of the mentors and the teaching performance of the teacher mentees as reflected in their IPCRF during the school year 2018 to 2019 rating period. The result is explicit that there is no significant relationship between the level of mentoring skills of the mentors and the teaching performance of the teacher mentees. Meanwhile, the themes that emerged from the second phase after gathering the data were classroom management challenges, successful induction practices, proper guidance, good rapport, and transform. Next slide. For the conclusions and recommendation, finally, it may be concluded that the findings generated in this study highlighted the importance of mentoring of beginning teachers as they navigate their first 3 years in the public school system. Participants voiced out their concerns. No matter how efficient and effective a teacher may be, it does not always translate to effective mentoring. They need to be prepared and that there must be policies and focus on mentoring itself. The Department of Education and National Educators Academy of the Philippines, or NEAP, and other learning institutions are challenged to initiate various programs and policies to equip all instructional leaders such as master teachers, school heads, supervisors, and teacher educators with necessary knowledge, skills, and attitudes to mentor future teachers effectively. The study successfully drew out the mentoring skills practices demonstrated by mentors and experienced by beginning teachers during their first attempt in the public school. The findings in the study contribute to the growing body of research in teacher education, specifically on mentoring beginning teachers. For the research output, hence, based on the consolidated quantitative and qualitative data and analysis, basic education leaders and mentors are recommended to utilize the proposed professional development framework as mentoring beginning teachers transformation framework, focusing on mentoring that caters the learning and development programs for beginning teachers and which is aligned with the ideals, principles, and objectives of the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers. Next slide, please. So as an overview, mentoring beginning teachers transformation. So, well, I guess all instructional leaders such as school heads, master teachers, public school district supervisors, education program supervisors, and teacher educators, and most especially beginning teachers must be on the same page to effectively implement and utilize this framework. For the phase 1, we have the beginning teachers induction practices, followed by facilitation of school-based instructional supervision as a professional development for beginning teachers. Next, we have the capacity building and professional learning and development activities. And most especially, beginning teachers must be engaged through research, empowering beginning teachers through research for educational transformation. Likewise, strong rewards and recognition system. And lastly, the continuity and sustainability of this proposed transformation framework. So next slide, please. That's all. Thank you po. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much. Mr. Juan Mario Yumena for that presentation. So it seems that Dr. Yango is not yet inside.
Yes, I'm here now. Yes,
Okay,
I'm
sir.
really sorry.
Okay, sir, it's okay.
It was really problem technically.
Okay, sir. So you have 2 minutes, sir, for your conclusion and recommendation. Thank you.
Hindi ko na lang pag-share.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. That's okay po.
Okay. So again, for the relationship for table 6, for the relationship between the respondent's concept of the teaching profession and pedagogical competence, the results unveils a significant relationship between the pre-service teacher's concept of the teaching profession and the level of pedagogical competence, as evidenced by its obtained probability value of 0.004, which was lesser than the level of significance at 0.01. The results connote that the more positive the pre-service teacher's concept of the teaching profession, the more they become pedagogically competent. As for the conclusion, it is an essence that the results of the study yield substantial implication to teacher education. Similarly, an understanding of the relationship among the pre-service teacher's concept of the teaching profession, academic performance, and pedagogical competence helps the teacher education institution in the region to design an effective and operative teaching and learning background. This is with the end view of increasing the mindfulness and perceptions on how potential teachers can become active partakers in creating and encouraging teaching learning atmosphere. Again, this is Dr. Antonio de Rosario from the University of Perpetual Health System, Laguna. God bless us all, and to God be the glory.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yango, for that presentation. And thank you so much, everyone, and all our research presenters. Thank you and congratulations for a job well done today. So, at this juncture, we would like to request Dr. Fellow CPA Dr. Gloria T. Baisa for her special message and synthesis.
My congratulations to all the research presenters. Your completion of a research paper is a great feat, aptly commendable, and so is the presentation of your output in a global platform such as this. The whole research process not only provided you with productive learning competencies, but also enhanced your faculty's personality and morale. It is noteworthy to mention that all the 7 papers focused on education, the academe, from improving student performance to quality instruction and teaching competence, to instructional leadership and supervision, to relevant and responsive programs. All this showed that you gave your best to be able to come up with worthwhile and relevant papers. This productive output shall serve well to support policy directions and initiatives, as well as guide as references that can be cited by other researchers. The papers you have just presented shall also serve as inspiration and provide encouragement to those trying the first step towards embracing research. Allow me now to inform you on the CPD credit units that you will be entitled to. As a paper presenter, 3 credit units per hour or a fraction thereof. Since we started at 2 and will end up at +5, I think each of these presenters can be entitled to 3 credit units. All you have to do is present the certificate as presenter and description of the activity of this activity when you claim your CPD credits. For your research output, you will be entitled to 10 credit units, but with more than one researcher, you shall divide the 10 credit units equally among the researchers. You have to present your research output to entitle you to the credit units. For attending this virtual conference, you will be earning or you will be entitled to 1.5 credit units. The certificate to be issued to you by the Royal Institution Singapore for attending this virtual conference is enough for you to be entitled to the 1.5 credit units. For the publication of your paper by the Royal Institution Singapore, you will still be entitled to 10 to 20 credit units for local and 30 credit units for publications indexed in Scopus or ISI and other recognized international journals. For multiple authors, the credit units shall be divided equally among the researchers. A copy of the published article together with the table of contents shall be your proof to be able to claim the credit units. Thank you, Royal Institution Singapore, for your advocacy and research education, aptly recognizing accomplishments through certifications. The Royal Institution Singapore truly is a leading edge for human capital development. More power to all, and God bless. Again, good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Dr. Baisa, for that synthesis and special message. So while we are still waiting for the results of the best paper and best presenter, our Zoom conference is now open for your questions, comments, suggestions, recommendations, etc. If you have questions to our speakers or to our presenters, you may do so now. Thank you.
May I pose a question to Dr. Akoriba?
Yes, ma'am.
Where's Dr. Akoriba, please? Dr. Akoriba,
are you there? Dr. Akoriba, sir.
Dr. Akoriba, are you there?
Sir? Not yet po, ma'am.
Okay. Later, babalikan ko siya.
Okay po.
Yes.
Hi, sir. Dr. Akoriba.
Yes po. I'm
Dr. Libunao has some questions.
Hi, Dr. Akoriba. This is Dr. Libunao. Yeah, congratulations on your study. That was a very interesting one, no? The use of manipulatives that help the pupils improve their, academic performance in, in mathematics, no? Alam mo naman, pagdating sa mathematics, mahirap yan, no? How will you really put mathematics in the interest of these students, no? And then in your recommendation, naririnig mo ako, Dr. Akoriba?
Yes.
Yeah. I noticed in your recommendation, you recommended that as a result of your study, for the integration of greater manipulative use in the teaching of mathematics. What happened to this? Was there a development on this?
Yeah, there are the Department of Education. They are planning, because we submitted this, and we will inquire if they will really integrate. Because in our recommendation, we strongly recommend that there will be an integration of the manipulatives in teaching mathematics.
Okay. So hanggang recommendation pa lang, it's not yet in place?
Yes, ma'am, because it is in the higher ups that we recommend to them.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes po.
Sige, that's good. I hope there would be some developments in having these recommendations as a result of your study. Okay?
Next year, ma'am, next year in our international research colloquium again, we will inform you and we will update you on that matter.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. God bless.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Akoriba. Dr. Akoriba.
Yes, sir.
I would suggest that you read the book, Calculus is the Language of God. That will inspire our students to be interested in mathematics.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there is a recent book that that was published. The title of it is Calculus, the Language of God.
Yes, sir. Noted.
Yeah.
May I also pose a question to Miss Rochelle Dizon. Rochelle, are you there?
Good afternoon. Yes po, I'm here.
Yeah, your study is quite very interesting, no?
Thank you.
Putting up, and we know that judicial training is vital to guarantee high standards, no, of competence and performance of our justice system nowadays, no? So how is your recommendation? Ano yung development ng recommendation mo as a result of this study?
Okay. I already presented this with our research publication and linkages office in the Philippine Judicial Academy. Dean Cedric Candelaria, former Dean of Ateneo de Manila University ng College of Law, already read my paper. And actually, the division chief of the linkages...
Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Ms. Mai Salazar, the division chief of the linkages office, already presented this also in their group. Some of parts of the survey instrument, they already undertaken parang further studies po. And then currently, because due to the pandemic din po, the chancellor found this very useful because we already migrated into online training, into distance learning. So far, since June, we held around mga 10 distance learning programs already. Before po kasi, PhilJA is not into online. We are more of in-person training because we have the PhilJA Training Center in Tagaytay, and mostly po, kami po ang nagpupunta, the training team, yung Academic Affairs Office po ang nagpupunta sa mga lugar kung saan po nandun yung mga judges and court personnel, or kung saan po dapat kami mag-hold ng trainings. But this time po, medyo naging useful po talaga yung aking research paper because dahil nga po sa pandemic, we need to migrate into online. So there po, actually, most of the recommendations po na nirecommend ko, kumbaga sabi nga nung mga judges po na na-interview ko before, sabi nila parang na-foresee ko daw po yung future. Well, actually po, apart from that, talaga pong we are trying na as training specialist po in Academic Affairs Office ng PhilJA, we are trying our best po talaga to do the blended learning already. So video conferencing, although meron pa rin pong face-to-face, we are doing that na rin po. But Ngayon po, purely online training. So
Okay,
there po,
that's
medyo maganda po yung kinalabasan po ng aking paper kasi kahit papaano po naging useful po siya for the academy.
Oo, napakaganda nga, no? At mahalaga na i-present mo sa kanila yung kahalagahan ng results ng study mo, no? Kasi napakahalaga yung judicial education, no? Judicial education to advance judicial competency, no? And to build public trust and confidence in the judiciary that we have now. Sana nga mapagpatuloy yan at magawan ng, ma-put into action at ma-recognize itong results ng study mo na ito. Thank you for that and congratulations.
Thank you so much
Rochelle.
po.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So any more questions?
Framework. May I also pose a question to Sir Juan Eumena?
Yes po, ma'am. Good afternoon
Sir
po.
Eumena, are you there? Ay, good afternoon. We do congratulate you. Ang ganda din ng iyong research study, no? You have mentioned kanina sa presentation mo that there was also a professional development framework that was proposed, no? For the beginning.
Opo, of course.
Ano nangyari doon? Ano nangyari?
So, I also sought for the blessing of our school superintendent, hoping once we get back po talaga, ma'am. It's for the implementation headed by our Chief of Schools Governance Operations Division together with the section of Human Resource for the implementation of my study. So hiningi po nila yung results ko, yung study ko. Pinag-aralan po nila and then okay. Ganda to, makakatulong to sa human resource ng section ng division para sa implementation sa amin sa schools and lahat po talaga ng schools dito, ma'am, high schools and elementary. Pagdating pag-roll out ay kailangan po tong framework. Ang isa pong nagustuhan nila diyan, beginning teachers or novice teachers must be engaged in research for educational transformation po. So yun po talagang binigyan nila ng diin po doon. So thank you po, ma'am.
Oo, napakaganda. This is also to congratulate all others that who have presented for this afternoon session. Ang gaganda ng inyong mga presentations and eto na nga what RI is doing, pushing and promoting this promotion for human development as a result of your scientific studies, no? So sana as proponents of these studies, don't just kailangan i-follow through din natin ng mga yon, no? And look into some actions or follow-ups kasi napakaganda itong mga proposals nyo at saka mga recommendations nyo. And this will rebound to, to really in promoting human development actually. So congratulations sa inyong lahat.
Ma'am,
congratulations.
Well noted po. Well noted po, ma'am.
Thank you po, Dr. Livano.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also share the same observation with the top M's.
Yes, sir. Well noted po.
Yeah. Your presentations as well as the scope and the subject and the scope of your research are very good. But I have one lingering question between the research on mentoring and pre-service teaching. Now, would it still be necessary to have that mentoring program if there will be an effective pre-service teaching education. My question is, would it still be necessary for mentoring approach to novice teachers if they have underwent pre-service teaching education?
Okay, so I think the question is,
especially in the tertiary education, I think many of our faculty members have not really seriously considered methodology in teaching, the different methodologies. So would that be necessary?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, I have this idea. If you can still recall one of the issues raised during, it was 2 weeks ago when there was a senator, I cannot remember the name, who said that one of the reasons why students are not really learning very well nowadays because the foundation or usually the teachers are not qualified to teach. They would always say na merong ang mga nag-aaral ngayon ng mga teachers ay medyo mahihina, and it was really alarming if you can still remember that issue. And then for me as an education graduate, there is really a need for us to be educated well, because for you to become a teacher, you have to be bombarded with a lot of strategies, methodologies during the pre-service training. And that's really needed, because you can never be a good and effective professor or teacher if you have a very poor foundation when you were still taking your BSE, considering my experience as a teacher. Okay? As a matter of fact, my study is very timely. So there is really a need for the pre-service teachers to be mentored most of the time. And even teachers should always be reminded of the things that are needed for them to be effective, and at the same time, for them to have a lot of training, continuous training to improve their teaching methodologies, the way they teach, the presentation. At the same time, the way they will deliver instruction to the students. It has to be a continuous process.
Right, thank you.
Education is a continuous process of learning.
Yeah, I hope you continue expanding your study along that line.
Yes, that would be the recommendation.
That would really, that would involve policy issues.
Yes, you're correct, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our Board of Judges for the questions. Any more questions po? Okay, so if there are no questions, so we are now ready to announce the winners for today's International Research Colloquium. May we request fellow Dr. Baisa to announce the winner of today's Research Colloquium, ma'am.
Okay, here are the winners. For the best paper presenter, the title of the paper presented is Shaping a Globally Relevant and Responsive Judicial Education Programs in the Philippines Towards an Effective Training Institution, Ms. Rachel Pablo Dizon. Congratulations. And for the best paper,
thank you.
The best paper is the title is School Principals Instructional Leadership and Teachers Performance in Santa Maria District. The best is the best paper presented by Ms. Lilibet S. Ayo. Congratulations.
Congratulations to all our winners. Dr. Lilibeth Miss Lilibeth S. Ayo for paper School Principals, Instructional Leadership, and Teachers' Performance in Santa Maria District as best paper. And congratulations also to our best presenter, Ms. Rochelle Pablo Dizon, for her research shaping a globally relevant and responsive judicial education programs in the Philippines towards an effective training institution.
Thank you po. Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations.
Congratulations to all, especially to the winners.
Congratulations. So at this juncture, may we now request Dr. Fellow Dr. Athena Georgine Au for her closing address.
Yes, congratulations to all the paper presenters. So a very good afternoon to all of you. Honorary Fellow Dr. Gloria T. Baisa, Honorary Fellow Dr. Attorney Cyril E. Ramos, Dr. Fellow Dr. Raquel G. Ramos, Dr. Fellow Dr. Adela Cristeta Ruiz, our keynote speaker for today with a topic very close to my heart, and Dr. Fellow Dr. Emmeline Q. Libunao, of course, our beloved Chancellor, Dr. Samuel M. Salvador, our Chief Compliance Officer, Dr. Helen Molano, our management team led by Ms. Lavelyn Malte, our research presenters, RI members, and guests. So a very good afternoon to all of you. And on behalf of the Royal Institution Singapore, I have the great honor and the pleasure to thank you for your active participation this afternoon. And once again, I'm pleased to congratulate all the presenters, and of course, for the best paper, Ms. Lilibeth Eo, Fellow of Royal Institute of Educators, and for the best presenter today, Ms. Rochelle Pablo Dizon, member of the Royal Institute of Public Administrators. A big thank you, of course, to our distinguished panel of judges, led by Dr. Baisa. And yes, so let me just share again about the Royal Institution. So it is our vision to be a world-class, global, multidisciplinary professional membership and accrediting institution. And we are committed to leveling the playing field by recognizing deserving people and organizations, and by serving as the premier platform for global networking, connecting education, business, commerce, industries, and facilitating collaboration, innovation, and perpetual learning for more opportunities, benefits, privileges, global recognition, and status. Our Royal Institution recognizes your contributions, experience, academic and professional qualifications, talents, skills, track record, and achievements of all those who deserve recognition. And we continuously strive to provide opportunities to enhance the skills, competitive advantages, academic, professional, and entrepreneurial status of all our members. While the borders are still closed, we have gathered online to share our knowledge and wisdom from our research papers. And I trust that we all had a fruitful afternoon learning and sharing with each other, and assure you again that the Royal Institution Singapore is committed to organizing such events going forward. So we invite you to follow our Facebook page, RI 2020, where we'll be sharing the photos and the video of today's event, and you will also be updated of our upcoming events. So let me end by wishing you a happy Thanksgiving, and to thank all of you today, and I wish that you stay safe and stay healthy. And since we're less than a month away from Christmas, may we wish all of you a blessed and a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and may the good Lord bless all of you until we meet again. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ms. Georgine.
Thank you.
Thank you po.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that concludes our International Research Colloquium. So before we end, kindly open your camera again for our last set of group photo. Ma'am, may anak ko niya, ma'am. You may turn off your background po. Hindi po kayo makita, ma'am. Okay po, please open your camera. I'll count in 1, 2, 3. Big smile. Next batch po. 1, 2, 3. Smile. And so thank you so much. And congratulations to all our research paper presenters and of course to all our winners. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Could I make a request?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I would like to request from Dr. Ruiz, Ma'am Adele. Could we possibly have a copy of your presentation? I think it would be good as basis for a wellness program for our employees.
Yeah, better. Thank you.
It's quite comprehensive, including the child development program for our employees.
Yes.
Would it be possible, Ma'am Ruiz?
The PowerPoint or a properly written paper?
Whichever. Yung presentation na lang po. I think we can draw from that. We can conceptualize a program, wellness program for our employees for that.
Sir, no problem. I also provide free services for if you need assistance in setting up those programs.
Yes, ma'am. By the time that we have already a vaccine, I think we can invite you as our resource person.
O, pwede naman po,
Pwede naman virtual, ma'am, ano?
Virtual.
Sige, ma'am. Opo, ma'am.
Kasi some of the details are not included in the paper. Those are just general concepts. Marami po doon na hindi pa na-discuss. Particularly, this entail more details.
Maraming revelations doon, ma'am, sa presentation nyo na hindi namin alam eh.
Mas marami pa po akong tinatago.
Ma'am Jam, gawan mo na lang ng libro po.
Mabuti pa. Yes, I think so.
Matagal yun. Monograph? Sponsored by RI, pwede?
Palagay ko pwede yung sa journal ninyo, sa journal ng RI. Di ba pwedeng i-publish yun?
Opo.
Palagay ko pwedeng i-publish, ma'am, yun eh.
Okay.
So at least mayroong recognition doon sa author.
Sige po, I will write it technically.
Yeah, especially that the development goals have until 2030. So we have more or less 8 years to go.
Yes.
To achieve that goals. So maganda
yes,
yung...
there are very new developments like yung sa strength, how is it measured? Yung sa gut, marami pang studies na bago. I just called out the very new until last night. So marami pong examples, marami po. Kasi, but of course, there is time constraint.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Very much.
Thank you, Mama. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you, Ma'am Jam.
Salamat din po.
Thank you, Ma'am Adele.
Ma'am Ems, thank you.
Ma'am Ems, thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Ems.
Thank you sa inyo lahat.
Dr. Sam.
Thank you,
ma'am, sir.
Ma'am Ellen.
Yes,
Ma'am Glo.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Congrats.
Thank you, Sir Cyril. Thank you,
Yeah.
Sir Sammy. Thank you.
Thank you to all.
Wala tayong meeting for Christmas.
Sir Sammy, thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am Georgie,
Is
thank you.
this the last Zoom meeting for RI? December, wala na?
We will see po.
May pahabol pa.
No, not a research conference, just a gathering.
Talaga sipag ng Araya.
Is that what Dr. Ems is saying? Just a Christmas gathering, right?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gathering. Yes, thank you for that.
Lovelyn.
Thank you, Sir Sam.
Yeah, yes,
Thank you, Attorney Saidi.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, love.
Thank you.
Thank you for all.
Thank you,
Out of the country ka pa ba, love?
Yes po. I'm based here permanently. Wow. Pero po.
Oh, permanently.
Yes po.
Okay, enjoy.
Uwi ng December.
Enjoy.
Wala po flight.
Okay.
Walang flight.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Anglo, bye-bye.
Congrats.
Bye-bye sa inyo
Happy
lahat.
birthday, Ate
Anglo,
Norma.
bye-bye.
Ma'am Kay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Magkahiwalay kami na.
Keep
Bye-bye.
safe.
Ano siya sa kabilang session room?
Ay, ganun.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Ellen.
Thank you po. Thank you,
Bye.
Ingat po, ingat.
Bye-bye, bye-bye.
Thank you so much po sa inyo.
Bye. You all, Ma'am Helen. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye po, Ma'am Ems. Thank you.
Sam, kumusta si Ate Norms, ha?
Oo, makakarating. Thank you, Lord.
Happy birthday.
Oo.
Happy birthday, sir, kay Ma'am Norma.
Oo, nagsayawan na lang kami.
Oo.
Nasayaw mo, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye, bye-bye.
Thank you.